Hey friends, if you're feeling overwhelmed, then this video is for you. Firstly, you're not alone. In a recent study, about 84% of adults experience some kind of chronic stress symptom at least once every single week. And over the last 10 years, I've been struggling with this, and I finally found a technique that's helped me to break free of this stress. That's why I want to share it with you in this video. So you see, our world is really fast-paced and interconnected nowadays, and it can be easy to feel as if you're constantly drowning in all kinds of demands, expectations, commitments. Our attention is being put in a million different directions, from the 10,000 advertisements that you see over the phone and your desktop, all the way to the 35,000 decisions that we make in a single day. No wonder our attention spans has shrunk from 12 seconds to 8 seconds, which is 1 second lesser than a goldfish. I know how overwhelming life can feel, because I've been there. For many years, I've juggled with an extremely demanding job with long hours. I've also juggled with family issues, relationship issues, the pressure of keeping up with social expectations as well, and as well new expectations being driven up by social media. So globally, workplaces have become increasingly high pressure. We find ourselves continuously chasing higher expectations every time, higher standards, higher ideals, higher passion, dreams, goals. And social media platforms is a fertile ground for comparison, right? It's a constant exposure to see showcased experiences from other people. And this can lead to feelings of inadequacy, of comparison and fear of missing out. At the same time, there's a surge, going up, expectations for careers, relationships, parenting, even your self-improvement. There's always this new height to reach, and there's this pressure to have it all. And people who don't chase that, society tends to frown on that. And this new norm is not normal. And I think we all know it. There's simply too much information out there, and we are rarely given the chance to turn off. I really like this quote from Krishnamurti, and he said, "It is no measure of good health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And I think our society is profoundly sick. I was always running on empty, never able to catch my breath. But over time, luckily, I actually found this really simple technique, and that seemed to change everything. So in this video, I'm going to show you what the causes of overwhelm are and how it affects your brain and body. I'm going to show you the 3-ingredient technique that I use to break free of this, and lastly, I'll just share with you how to use this technique in daily life. So there are many causes of overwhelm, right? And overwhelm is not something new. It's been going on for centuries, and this is ranging all the way back to the Old Testament, even to Shakespeare and psychoanalysts who have been writing about it in 1970s. But today's world presents different challenges from those of the past. Now we're bombarded with expectations, information and demands from every single angle, whether it's the pressure to succeed at work, constant pull of social media, or the struggle to keep up with endlessly growing to-do lists, checklists, expectations. It's very easy to feel like you're just falling behind. And when we face these constant stresses, it always feels like we're in fight or flight mode. This floods our system, all kinds of stress hormones, in particular cortisol. Cortisol disrupts brain circuits that are involved in top-down processing. And what that means is that it becomes really difficult for you to do complex, goal-directed tasks because you'll end up feeling very distracted. You see, although stress is really important to get us out of danger, especially in dangerous situations, it's only useful in the short run, because if you have you're constantly turned on, the switch cannot turn off, we start to become overwhelmed, and this can spill off into all kinds of health, mental, emotional, psychological effects. So if lately you have been feeling energy depleted, feeling exhausted, you're feeling like you're very detached from your work, very dissociated or less effective, you're feeling cynical and skeptical, and these are all signs of what WHO actually calls burnout. Burnout is a work type of overwhelm, and we certainly know that overwhelm can extend to many other things, including our daily lives. So what happens is that we build up all of that mental fatigue, and eventually, it flips to its complete opposite, which is a forcibly depressed state. And that's a way of your body telling you that it's had enough and it really needs to rest. So do listen to that signal. And the problem is that we are staying too long in a high stress state. We grew up in a world that has never taught us anything about stress or how to regulate it. In fact, there's nothing wrong with stress. There is this law called the Yerkes-Dodson law, which provides an optimum level of stress for you to perform at your best. So you cannot have zero stress, because you wouldn't be able to have enough motivation or energy to accomplish your task. But if you increase your stress to that middle point, where we call the point of eustress, That would be the optimum amount of stress for you to function at your best and still having enough motivation. Anything more than that would be excessive stress. And to achieve this, I have a 3-ingredient technique that I'm going to show you exactly how to do. I call this technique attention dilation technique, or ADT for short. Its first ingredient is soft fascination. So soft fascination is an actual term and it's been coined by psychologists in the 1980s, and it's part of this attention restoration theory. So the attention restoration theory posits that attention becomes less effective when you use it over a long period of time, and that leads to mental fatigue. In particular, mental difficulty. This is quieted attention, and that means accomplishing a goal. It becomes very problematic for you when you're mentally fatigued. Hence, you can't do your work properly because you become very distracted and you become less effective. So what is soft fascination? Ever remember the feeling that you get when you walk and clouds drift off in the sky, or you're in a vast landscape of nature, in the mountains, the ocean, overlooking a huge panorama of nature, soft fascination. And one thing I found is that it is almost the same thing as attention dilation, and I get to letting go of that narrow, tight, contracted focus and opening up to everything that's happening right now in the present moment. Yet a common method that I've seen out there, which is actually proven studies, and also forest monks, is in goodwill, kindness, being stick, and having compassion for other people. You tend to turn away from those self-involved thoughts and open up to other people. That also has the same effect of opening your attention, or dilating your focus and opening up to everything around you. The second ingredient is a soft, steady gaze. When we're stressed out, we often develop a tunnel vision. So tunnel vision is an adaptive response to with dangerous situations, because you want to sharpen everything that's in front of and ignore everything around you. See, that causes a problem because when you're tightly focused, you ignore everything around you, and at the same time, you are in a highly stressed state. By relaxing your eyes, kind of just softening it and being able to perceive everything around you in your visual field, you're sending a signal to your brain that hey, to relax. You're too tightly focused. A time for you to open around you and just relax. At the same time, your eye gaze should be as steady as possible. And this was proven in a 2012 sports psychology study, showed how having a steady eye gaze actually increased performance, and it also reduced levels of anxiety. The last and third ingredient is soft ears. So just like seeing, we tend to constrict our hearing to certain sounds in our environment, or in most people, we constrict that hearing to our own internal thoughts. So when you open around that contraction, pay attention to the background noises, things like the birds chirping in the background, wind noises, leaves rustling, the cars moving outside, white noise making noises as they move around. When you do that, it actually anchors you to the present moment and drops you outside of your thoughts and emotions. So I mentioned 3 ingredients, but I didn't mention the last 4th secret ingredient. So without this 4th ingredient, the other 3 ingredients probably wouldn't work, because this 4th ingredient is knowing exactly when to apply this technique. And to apply this technique, you need to know how to recognize when you are in a stress state. You need to know when you have too little stress, and you need to know when you have too much stress. And knowing that, you want to recenter yourself and bring yourself to this middle level of stress. To understand how to do this, you need to realize that all of us, we tend to spend a majority of the day in some kind of autopilot mode. It's where you're basically unaware of what you're doing. Usually when you are walking down a familiar path, or you're carrying out certain routine actions like eating breakfast, repeating certain in your behavior. You often go through the motion without realizing that we're doing it, because we're so habituated to doing it. We kind of switch off consciously, and then we might suddenly, in a few seconds later, you might wake up and, oh, I actually did all that. Wow. So what we need to do is to practice this recognition of waking up from this trance-like state. Because in a trance-like state, you can't really make any change. But if you are able to break out of this automated, habituated trance-like state, you can then create changes. So this is literally what we call mindfulness, except in the original Pali or Sanskrit term, or sati, it originally has this meaning of reminding yourself of the present moment. I tend to like the term remindfulness much better, and that's the 4th ingredient. And just like anything, it is a skill. mindfulness is a skill that you get better and the more you do it. So the more you just remind yourself, oh, I was doing that and I need to wake up right now and reassess my stress level right now. What am I feeling right now? And then practice the ADT, which is the attention dilation technique. So as you get better at this, you start to be able to regulate yourself with stress in a much better level. It doesn't matter whether you're faced with extremely stressful situations, whether it's an unexpected event, highly stressful things like being in debt or like facing financial problems or dealing with relationship issues or workplace issues, dealing with deadlines. It doesn't matter. Any kind of stressful situation, you can always assess it and you can always dilate your attention using this catchphrase, which is soft fascination, soft eyes and soft ears, and keep doing that. So I think that this technique will actually help you in regulating your stress and preventing you from going down that negative spiral of overwhelm. And also, if you have any suggestions or questions, please do leave them in the comments below.